Chapter 1, then, learning, covers his upbringing in the Erzurum region, his first call to Edirne, and then traces the significance of the educational initiatives started by Hizmet around the globe, focusing especially on schools in Iraq and the Kurdish regions of southern Turkey. A central metaphor can characterize the educational initiatives of Gülen and Hizmet, drawing from the teachings of Said Nursi, whose Risale-i-Nur he encountered in the early 1950s. Gülen has encouraged people to fly with two wings. That is, to learn to unite science and spirituality. While God says, we will show them our manifest signs in the horizons of the universe and within our own selves, we hardly saw research, examinations, and engagement with the nature of things. Although the Quran was read, the book of nature was left to the side. A clash emerged in the society, and the mind was separated from the heart. A school is a kind of sacred place, Gülen has said. And the movement, of course, has built thousands of tutoring centers, dormitories, primary and secondary schools, colleges and universities on every continent. People of Hizmet have attended, and some now teach at, the world's most prestigious universities. Through education, Gülen and people of Hizmet have fostered the literacy that grows trust, that grows deep peace. Political Islam seeks to use political party organizing to foster Islamic societies from the top down. Civil Islam seeks to form faithful Muslim individuals who then contribute to civil society through their diverse vocations from the bottom up. That is, Gülen saw the formation of individuals through nonviolent practices like prayer as the crucial first step toward peace in a Turkey that was terribly divided by political factions. Working especially with youth, Gülen brought back from his first pilgrimage to Mecca the conviction that as a Muslim, he was a citizen of the world. He was above all a servant of God. The prophets went to the people. The people didn't listen. They derided them. They did bad things to them, but no prophet gave up on going to them. We need to give our respect to these people because they too are created by God. Nobody is greater than another. What we know, we must share. If they ask, and we know, we'll explain, and we might have things to learn from them. End quote. That was only one of the nonviolent practices that Gülen began reviving and reinterpreting during his years in Izmir. Collectively, the spiritual practices at the heart of Islam generate deep peace, as they did for people inspired by Gülen as they prayed, fasted, gave charity, went on pilgrimage, and trusted in God and in one another. His preaching was marked by both scholarly precision and intense emotion. He would often cry, as our keynoter said during a sermon, and frequently the entire congregation would start crying with him. He became known, in fact, as the crying Hoja. At first, this struck me as very odd, perhaps even manipulative. Over the years, Koshar worked it out. Quote, eventually it became easy for me to understand. He was crying over the situation of Islam in the world. We are behind in every subject. As humans, we are failing God by not being servants of God. End quote. Her evidence to support this assertion was that Gülen's tears stemmed from and encouraged self-critical awareness. Quote, look at ourselves, she paraphrased Gülen. And rather than being angry with people around us, rather than blaming others, look at ourselves. Why are we here? End quote. That positive approach, living the questions, as Rilke put it, gave Koshar hope to live a life of purpose through Hizmet. Reflecting in later years on the opportunities he had to travel abroad, several more trips were coming in the 1980s and 90s, including a definitive one to the US in '99, Gülen observed that, quote, "By visiting the States and many European countries, I realized the virtues of and the role of religion in these societies. Islam flourishes in America and in Europe better than in many Muslim countries. This means freedom and the rule of law are necessary for personal Islam. Moreover, Islam does not need the state to survive, but rather needs educated and financially rich communities to flourish. In a way, not the state, but rather community is needed for a fully democratic system," end quote. During Gülen's years in Istanbul, he also became known for his commitment to interfaith dialogue and to a Turkish word often found in his preaching and teaching that has generally been translated as tolerance, but that really means more than that tepid term can convey. That word is hoşgörü. My understanding of hoşgörü is something like principled pluralism. A person committed to hoşgörü lives with integrity in one's own tradition, hence principled, but also lets others live out their deepest commitments that might differ dramatically from one's own, hence pluralism. But principled pluralism, or hoşgörü, as practiced and preached by Gülen and lived out in Hizmet, was not mere relativism. Instead, principled pluralism of hoşgörü in Hizmet wagered that Islam provided a foundation from which differences could be engaged and turned to cooperation through dialogue. That is, when people of Hizmet met across differences, they did so on a basis of mutual respect. Knowing where one stood as a Muslim made it possible to accept differences without judgment, and surely without violence. Differences then created conditions for dialogue, and dialogue helped people learn to live together with greater peace and justice than before. But hoşgörü also meant, as Dr. Scott Alexander taught me, theologically, to see another as God sees them. And God sees above all with eyes of mercy and compassion. It was with this God's eye aspect of hoşgörü, as articulated by Fethullah Gülen, that led so many people of Hizmet in the 1990s to invite people from diverse cultures and communities into their community. So in my remaining marks, I'll concentrate on what I call in the book the DNA of Hizmet. Gülen's teaching regarding istişare, mutual consultation. From the very beginning of his teaching, Gülen taught that every person has dignity and voice. Nobody is intrinsically better than any other. This teaching became the heart of a deliberative style of organizing where people learned to trust themselves and each other. Gülen describes istişare as follows, quote, "For the Muslims of today, consultation is a vital attribute and an essential rule, just as it was for the first Muslims. According to the Quran, istişare is the clearest sign of a believing community. The importance of consultation is mentioned in the Quran to the same degree as salat, prescribed prayers," end quote. Given this importance, quote, "the most intelligent person is the one who most makes use of consultation and deliberation and who benefits most from the ideas of others." Hizmet grew because consultation discovered differences, promoted debate, and taught people to trust themselves and others. People inspired by Gülen learned by making mistakes, adjusting accordingly, and trying again.